Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Wes Moore. Glad you're with us for another night of more sports. We're winding down 2025 and getting ready for 2026. And tonight we're going to hear from two high school football coaches that had a great year in 2025. In fact, they combined to go a 24-2 this season. One of them was named the Hootens Arkansas Football Coach of the Year for the entire state. The other was named the Coach of the Year in the 5A classification. I sat down with them recently and got to hang out a little bit. Let's get right to tonight's show.
All Arkansas, all sports. It's more sports.
Let's talk a little football with Mark Kelley, head coach at Sylvan Hills, coming off of just a great turnaround year, first year at Sylvan Hills, and now the winner of the 6A, 7A Coach of the Year by the Hootens Award. Congratulations. Welcome in.
Hey, thanks for having me.
How would you sum up this year? I mean, it was quite a ride.
Right. It's still one of those where you look back and you thought it was going to be a building year, and it definitely was in certain ways. But then when you have a great senior class that puts in a lot of work and believes and just fights to the end, and then you have the positive results that we had.
It's a great story. I mean, people were talking about just the turnaround of Sylvan Hills. You don't see that often. A team that had lost 20 in a row and to come around and do what y'all did this year. Yeah. When did it start? When did that rebuilding process begin?
Yeah, so it was really about this time last year, right in December, when I, kind of got the call and thought that I was going to get the job. So really just kind of looking at how we're going to do the offseason and everything. And then when we hit the ground, just those guys buying in and just the tons of work that we put in, whether it's, with the coaches, with the players, all the staff. And I mean, the whole thing from top to bottom. I know, my name's on the award, but there's hundreds of people that put into this team and poured into these players. And really the positive result came from a lot more people than me.
Were you at all a little nervous, hesitant to take the job, knowing what Sylvan Hills have been like the last couple of years?
Yeah. So whenever I visited with Coach Tipton about it, he said, watch the film, watch the tape, and just look at it. And a couple of things stood out that they had some defensive linemen, which I'd played Sylvan Hills in the past. They typically had some really good defensive fronts, and that to me is like the number one thing. And then the quarterback is the next thing. And Tyler, of course, had an amazing year. And the thing that stood out with Tyler is extremely athletic. And the number one thing, though, was he's probably the toughest kid I've ever seen on the football field. And this year in coaching him, it's no doubt at all that he's one of the toughest human beings that I've ever been around. And, I mean, he's really the heartbeat of what we had out there offensively and defensively.
They had to obviously buy in.
Yeah.
Did they buy in pretty quickly?
Yeah, I think it's just one of those that they were hungry. Whenever you really hadn't had just a ton of success, you're looking for some direction. And not that, we came in with the perfect direction, but we came in with the direction, we stuck with it, and those guys really bought in really quickly. And, of course, there was a lot of work to do as far as, conditioning and things like that and just football fundamentals. And we still got a long way to go as far as the program. But, man, very proud of these guys and very proud of this team.
Did you know summer, fall camp? Was there a time where you're like, yeah, these guys are going to be pretty good?
Yeah, so, you go to those team camps after you go through spring ball. We went to Valonia, and, we competed well against like Greenbrier, Valonia, Stuttgart, some teams that obviously had really good years this year. And we held our own. And then we went over to Robinson, I think, the next week. And, I talked to you at some point during the summer. I said, I think Robinson might be the best team I've seen. And Robinson stepped up and absolutely, physically dominated us. So I thought on both lines of the scrimmage. And that kind of helped us to kind of reset and say, all right, maybe we're not going to go out there and dominate up front. And maybe there's some things that we need to tweak as far as what we're doing scheme-wise so we can compete on that type of level with, talent that we know is, state-level talent that could win state championships. So I thought that was a great thing for us to go out there and compete against some really good teams and see where we stacked up. And at that point, I thought we were pretty solid, but we also had some things we had to fix.
When did the guys, the players themselves believe this could be a special year?
Yeah, I really think once you win that first game, because it's one of those. It's been 2-3 years since they'd won. That senior class hadn't won a game since they'd been in high school. So just to get that off of our backs, because everybody, as soon as I stepped in the building, hey, 0-20, 0-20, 0-20. That's all anybody ever talked about. So that was big to get that first win under our belt. And then once we got that under our belt, all right, all that goes away. Now let's just focus on what we can do to get better and progress. And we just got a lot better throughout the year.
What happens if Maumelle scores that 2-point conversion?
Who knows? It's one of those. I really think that our guys, whether they scored or not, I thought that the way that we competed, that we're going to have confidence and believe that we can win. But again, like you say, hey, Now it's 0-21. It's things still on your back. I think that we probably still win, the next week, but to do it in dramatic fashion is a lot more fun. It makes the story better. So I'm glad that we were able to get that stop.
And resilient. They had already proven they were resilient.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to think if they'd have lost it, they would have.
Right.
found
Like
a
you
way.
say, so it was one of those. That was an insane game. It took 3 hours plus, and we were down to some guys that we weren't really expecting to play out there had to make plays for us in the fourth quarter. So, we were excited about the result, and we also were able to grow off of it, which is awesome.
Take me back to the Elkins game because after watching them this past weekend, I'm not
The Shiloh game?
Yeah, the Shiloh game.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I only called
Hey, I
seven
understand.
championship
Trust me, I
games.
understand. I watched them all, man. I watched every second of them.
Take me back to that Shiloh game. After watching them,
Yeah.
and I was a little surprised with your score, to be honest. And then when I watched them in person, I was like, wow, this team was peaking, was getting better and better and better each week.
Yeah.
What did you think of that Shiloh game? And
they were obviously an extremely physical and good football team. Like that showed up against Greenwood. It showed up against everybody. Their offensive front was one of the better ones we've seen. Very athletic and long, and what they really did well is I've got to just kind of give their coaches a ton of props. They went after the weaknesses on whoever they were playing, and that was one of the things. They picked out a couple guys and went after them in the secondary. Same thing up front. You might have a guy that they felt was a weak link, and you can see those guys attack them. Obviously, really well coached team and solid players all the way around. There's not one weak link that you could really just point at and say, hey, we can attack that. All around great football team, and of course, paid off the state championship.
What'd that game do for your team? The loss. What'd you see?
Yeah, no, it was one of those that you can build off of that. We went toe to toe within 3. I think in the third quarter. At some point we pulled within 3, and that's the team that wins the state championship. And this is a good football team that we had, and our program still has a long way to go. Our 7 through 12 is still one of those that is still a marathon, not a sprint. We got to find a way to continue to build those guys up. So instead of being, a one-hit wonder or a year where every now and then we pop and we win 10, where every year we're in the conversation for state championship, conference championship, and it's one of those things to win it, things have to go right. Just like when we were at Searcy, things have to fall right, and all the timing of everything has to be right. You got to stay healthy. You got to do all these different things. So we're just really trying to be consistent, 7 through 12, and build on that this season. So we are, perennial contender for state championship, conference championship.
I'm curious, after playing Shiloh and seeing them in person, were you thinking that week that they were going to beat Greenwood?
Well, that's a great question because, we'd watched a lot of film of them against Greenwood because we felt like our offense and everything was really similar. But I obviously thought both teams were really physical up front. I think both offensive lines might have been the best in the state, especially in 6A. But it's one of those things whenever it comes down to it, hey, do you get a turnover here or there? Do you get the momentum at the right times? And, I thought they were going to have a shot for sure because I thought that first game when they played Greenwood at Greenwood, and we know Greenwood is an extremely tough place to play. I don't know if it's like 70-something wins in a row.
78, I think
so
now?
78 wins in a row is a tough place to play. And, they were right there. It was a play here or there where, they could stay in the game. But, man, I thought it was going to be a ball game. And obviously come down to turnovers or stop here or there in the red zone.
3 turnovers.
Yeah, especially that first drive.
Yeah.
And when they get down there, that was a huge momentum shift in that game for sure, getting that stop early.
6A is going to look different next year.
Yes, it will.
No Greenwood going down to 5A, Shiloh moving up to 7A.
Yeah.
We know there's going to be a new 6A champion next year.
Right.
What's that do you think for the rest of the 6A with all the changes?
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things too. You see, there's going to be a lot of changes with head coaches as well, and so it's going to open up everything as far as everybody feels like they got a shot to win it. Which I legitimately think, like how our conference was this year, there's 7 or 8 teams that were really competitive, and every week it was a slugfest. And I think that's how 6A is going to be. And you're going to get, I think, Searcy move up. They're a 10-win team from 5A. They're going to move up, and then obviously Southwest. I think they're going to get a new coach, and that who knows what Southwest is going to look like next year. So it's going to be still a gauntlet. I think that the top end may be a little bit lower, but then that bottom end is probably going to be a little bit higher. So it's going to be dogfights every week, and who knows, state championship may be a team that lost 4 games or something, because it could be kind of that interesting throughout the year.
What will Sylvan Hills look like next year?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We're going to have to replace a lot. We had a lot of seniors, but we got really good guys that are continuing to move up. We probably have about half of the guys returning as far as offense and defense. Really good young group. I think our 9th grade group that's working up to be a 10th graders next year going to be a really good group for us. We still got a long way to go as far as our fundamentals and in the weight room. So it's going to be a big offseason for us.
Coach, we appreciate it. And
hey,
congratulations on a wonderful year, all the wins, and the award for being the 7A, 6A
Yeah.
Coach of the Year.
Appreciate you having me.
Man, it was a fun year.
Yeah, it was.
You guys were easy to root for.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, sir.
And a big thank you to Gwatney Buick GMC. They got some great deals for the next couple of days. 2026 GMC Sierra, $1,500 up to $15,000 off MSRP. 2026 GMC Yukons, $10,000 off MSRP. 2026 GMC Sierra 2500 up to $11,000 off MSRP, and rates as low as 0.9% financing, no payments for 90 days. These discounts absolutely end. Close of business day on December 31st. Come see them at Gwatney Buick GMC and find out why they are Pulaski County's #1 General Motors dealer. All right, let's talk with Tyler Uptergrove, head coach of Joe T. Robinson, coming off of just an awesome season, year one for you, 13-0. I mean, state championship.
Mm-hmm.
You win the Hootens Coach of the Year for 5A. I mean, could you have dreamed a better scenario?
I really couldn't. I actually told the parents that, now that I've had about a week to think about it, you can't draw it up. This group of kids has been super special to me. A guy like Tank, we've been together since he was in 4th or 5th grade. Kid who broke his hand probably in the first quarter of the game and just guts it out. He had Deuce, who was just trying to gut it out. Pat goes down with a shoulder against Farmington, re-aggravates it against Lakeside. Lennox breaks his hand. I mean, you just got kid after kid who's just playing for each other. I was actually talking to Coach Tribble from Harding University after their game on Saturday. We were texting, and I said, I understand what you guys are talking about, brotherhood, and what it means, because this group we had just played for each other every week. It didn't matter how bad it got, because there were some games where there was some, oh shoot moments, and these kids, for whatever reason, they just played for each other. They played hard for us coaches. They let us coach them hard, and man, it's just a blessing.
I know how Harding does that, year after year. I mean, it can be different with players coming in, but how do you establish that at the high school level, to that brotherhood?
I think it's definitely something that I want to get, up there to Cersei and talk to him about. But I think for us, when I look back at it, a lot of it is the parents that we have. I look at it, we have just some of the best parents that have gone through our program in a really long time, who are extremely supportive. Whenever we need something, whenever a player needs something, whether it's for football, whether it's at home, academic. But man, I just really felt when, at first team meeting, January 10th or 11th, you could just tell there was a buy-in. There was that still sour taste in their mouth with how the season had ended the year before. And, like I said, a kid like Deuce, Tank, and Pat, you could tell that they wanted to finish it out right and kind of set the standard and set the tone for how we wanted the program to go before. We've obviously had a lot of success in the past, but, obviously me taking over, kind of trying to put my own mark on it. We want to be one of those programs that you're talking about every, first weekend in December. And so they really took that on and just grinded it out and did it for each other.
You know what it's like to lose? Not as a head coach.
Not as a head coach, but, it's like I tell my coaches all the time, I went to North Pulaski High School, okay? We went 2-28. When your call up is 1-9, no more for off season, and then your senior year you go 0-10, so I'm enjoying it. I tell my kids all the time, like my freshman this year that I moved up, won more twice as many high school games their freshman year than I won in 3 years in high school. But it's a blessing. I actually talked to Kevin Bohannon after I think the Farmington game, and just told him, even though we didn't win games in high school, they set the foundation for my career because of what they built into me, showing what coaching is. It didn't have to always be X's and O's. At that time, my mom was going through a battle with breast cancer, and they were there the whole step of the way for me. And it really just, set my mind and my heart about what a coach is. It is about winning, and it is about that kind of stuff. But we're in high school. We're trying to develop young men and turn them into, great fathers and husbands one day. And I really take that to heart. It helps that I have very talented players. But, it's just been real special. And, I talked at a pep rally on Wednesday. Only, choice here is, to go down or go do it again. So that's the plan.
Did all that losing in high school fuel you?
Probably a little bit. I think, I grew up the son of a military, kid. And then my grandfather owned a dairy farm in central Missouri. And I just had two great examples of men who worked. And I just think for me, starting out coaching, I didn't know the most X's and O's was, just to be completely honest with you. Coach Scola gave me a shot, and I did whatever it took as a young coach, whether it was laundry, scout team, whatever it was. And I think my passion or what fuels me is, I don't want to ever be accused of not working hard for a kid, because at the end of the day, we're trying to set them up for success. So, I think for anything, I just want to be known as a hard worker and that loves their kids.
What Coach Scola mean to you in your career?
A lot. Like I said, my wife and I had our daughter on July 20th. I went to a scrimmage on August 18th or 20th just to kind of meet the staff to see if I could volunteer and substitute teach. He had no reason to say, come on and do this. He did it. And then every step of the way of my career, he moved me up. He switched me sides of the ball. And then when we knew this decision was coming about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, he and I sat down and was like, I think this is yours. You've earned it. He didn't have to do that. There's a couple other coaches on staff at the time who had been there longer than me, but just for him, and what that program or this program means to that family, they've been there forever. And for him to just trust that, I could keep doing it, how they do it, and, the success and caring about kids and caring about the Robinson community, because we have a really unique community being in Little Rock, but at the same time, you're still out there in that Roland Ferndale area. And it's been great. But just the fact that he had the faith in me to turn it over and say, just keep it going. It means the world to me.
Did you lean on him at all this first year?
I think he tried to kind of stay away in some aspects because he didn't want to feel like he was stepping on toes. There was times where I would go and talk to him, and more of it was, the off the field stuff. Maybe it was a behavioral issue or coaching staff issue or anything like that. His door was always open. He and I were talking before I got here about some stuff for next year. And, I always know he has my back. He was a huge help the state title week because, you get on this Zoom call with the AAA and they're throwing 6 million things at you and you're just like, okay. And so the whole time he's sitting there, he's like, you need to do your practice time. You need to do this. And so he was a huge help that week. And just like he's always been my whole career. So I'm very appreciative of everything he's done for me and my family.
Can you talk about what's next? What is next?
Yeah, I guess we'll find out where we're going to be next year conference-wise this week. And then, I told the kids, I said, I don't want to see you for 3 or 4 weeks. Let's get, healthy and all that kind of stuff. And then I guess about January 8th, it's time to do it again. We've had about 78 kids in the finals game and 13 of them are leaving, all really good football players, but we're really excited about the core we got coming back and feel like it's another opportunity to make a run. Obviously you got Greenwood coming down, but we're going to go ahead and, knock that one out in the non-conference and see what they're all about. But just, I just want our kids to go out and compete and have another chance to do it. I think this junior group who we've always really been excited about really got a taste of what it's like. And I'll be very shocked if they don't just absolutely kill it this offseason and just try to get back there, next December.
I did not realize Joe T and Greenwood are playing in the non-conference.
Yes, sir. Week 2. So it should be fun.
Had that been set up for a while?
Yeah. Coach Young and I set it up, I guess, in either June or July. He's, it was an opportunity to play a really good program. And, obviously one of the best in the state, if not the best. And we have all, kinds of respect for them. And, one thing Coach Scola taught me is, if you're going to play somebody in the non-conference, you better play somebody who's going to make you better. There's no point in just walking through it. So you might as well find out real fast. And we know we're going to do that with Greenwood because they're obviously a really good program.
They're here.
I'm not sure yet. So I guess we'll see. I think we're kind of waiting to see how the conference, we got to redo conference schedules, see who needs home games, who needs away games, and then go from there. And then we got to, hammer out a couple of other non-conferences, trying to work something out with Benton, hopefully. So, we want to challenge ourselves early and then go from there.
Lakeside off?
Yes. Yeah, we're going to roll that one off. Yeah, I think we've played each other enough over the last 2 years. And nothing but respect for them and Coach Rock. They had, they got after us just as much as we got after them. So, but yeah.
What are you going to remember the most of the state championship game? Is there a play, a moment?
There's probably 2 things. Caleb Smith's interception. If you knew Caleb Smith, great kid. As a 10th grader, didn't play much, scout team, special teams guy, works his tail off to become kind of a role player as a junior. And then his senior year, when you go to the conference meetings, you got conference coaches talking about he may be the best defensive end on your team. Well, Lennox Campos had 15 sacks. Says everything about Caleb Smith. And then he makes that play where it gives us all the momentum. And I told our kids in our meeting last Monday, you made the play of the game, because you turned all the momentum. And then just seeing a guy like Big Pat cry like a baby, because it's a kid who's been through so much in life. And just for him to finally get that moment and feel the feeling of being a champion, a kid like Tank and Deuce, I've already talked about, but the injuries, and I'm not making excuses, because they played through it, and you got to get really lucky to win a state title. With injuries and that kind of stuff. And we had plenty of them. It's just this group, for whatever reason, refused to let them stop them. Lennox Campos had about a 5 or a 6 inch screw in his hand. They got put in Wednesday before Morrilton. He played the whole Morrilton game, and then obviously played the whole finals game, he did it, I guess the 4th play against Farmington, broke it and never came out. And that's just what kids did all year. And, as a coach, we want them to play hard. We want them to, do stuff for each other. And this group just did it. And I got spoiled, obviously. But, this group of kids is just really special to me, and really, changed my life. Obviously, never in a million years, a year ago, did I think I'd be getting an award for being the 5A coach of the year. You could easily say I'm the 5A coach of the best coaching staff and players in the state. Because I truly feel like I have that, and it's been a blessing. So just to see, I've got to win state titles. And so it was special to do it again. It was different as a head coach, but just to see some of my coaches who have never won one and our kids was just really special for me.
What a great year. Coach, thank you. We appreciate you joining us, and congratulations on all the victories and the awards.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Wes.
It's Tyler Uptergrove joining. Tyler Uptergrove and Mark Kelley, 2 head coaches to keep an eye on in 2026. 2 great guys coming off big years in 2025. I want to thank you all for 2025. It was a great start for more sports, and I cannot wait for 2026. Big things planned for 2026. We got Arkansas basketball. Of course, the portal opening up Friday. Friday is going to be huge, talking about all the guys jumping into the portal and who Arkansas may sign out of the portal. And next thing you know, we'll be talking about March Madness, Razorback baseball, spring football. 2026 is going to be awesome, and we are just getting started at More Sports. If you like this video, as always, give me the thumbs up on YouTube. Go subscribe on YouTube. If you haven't already, go find More Sports on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, and let's keep this thing growing. Thank you for watching tonight. Have a safe New Year's Eve, and let's make 2026 a year to remember. Stick around. We'll be back for more sports on Friday night.
All Arkansas, all sports. It's More Sports.